Hey, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Ryan. I am the founder of We Are All Veterans, and I'd like to welcome you to our inaugural podcast. This is the first episode. I have a lot of plans for what I want to do with this. I'm not entirely sure the frequency and how often I'll be able to do the podcast, just because of scheduling and how busy. I'm a full-time student at the moment. I have other commitments to a veterans organization. I have a family, young daughter. So I would ideally like to make this a weekly thing, but I'm going to make no promises just in the, you know, case that that doesn't actually work out and, life kind of gets in the way. So we'll kick this off. I wanted to put up this podcast to discuss issues that are relating to veterans and kind of introduce what We Are All Veterans is, what it's all about, and what we stand for. So let's get some definitions out of the way. First of all, veteran. Under Title 38 of the Code of Federal Regulations, veteran is defined as, quote, a person who served in the active military, naval, or air service and who is discharged or released under conditions other than dishonorable, end quote. That's the definition I'm going to be using for a veteran. Um, Basically, it means, you served in the military, you got a discharge that was not dishonorable, and we consider you a veteran. So, what does We Are All Veterans stand for? I'd love to break this down and kind of give you a detailed explanation of what we stand for, why I started this, and the kind of goals of the organization. I do not currently intend to have this be a nonprofit. I'm not looking to bring in any money. I'm not looking to do donations. There are tons of other veteran service organizations out there I fully support. I am behind their mission, several to include like American Military Family, Disabled American Vets, the VFW, American Legion, a whole host of those. There's a lot out there. I'm not looking to jump into that fray. I'm looking to do something a little bit different. So, what We Are All Veterans stands for: all persons who are defined as a veteran by Title 38 CFR, regardless of branch of service, sex, gender, unit, occupational specialty or MOS, foreign service, overseas service, deployment, disability rating or lack thereof, or discharge status other than dishonorable, are all veterans and equally all veterans. Now, what that kind of basically means, to kind of break it down: did you serve in the military? Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Space Force? If you served in the military, that's it. I don't care about all the rest. You're a veteran. You're my brother or sister. That's it. Do you have deployments? Were you during wartime? Were you drafted? Peacetime? Doesn't matter. Dispense all the other BS. It doesn't matter. And this is something near and dear to my heart. I don't care what capacity you served. I don't care if you went overseas. I really honestly, a veteran's a veteran. I don't care if you were a rear echelon support soldier or airman or sailor or marine. I don't care. I don't care if you were infantry. I don't care if you were tier 1 special operations, SEAL team, Navy SEAL, special forces, all that doesn't matter. Veteran's a veteran, and that's what this whole organization stands for. Now, I know that there are a lot of people out there who like to throw shade and be kind of aggressive towards other veterans and negative. I don't care. All of that, we need to just put that aside and realize we're all on the same team. We're all in one fight. So the reason I started this, I was seeing a lot of toxicity among fellow veterans, and it's one of those things that really kind of gets under my skin because we are all veterans. The VA doesn't see anything different between a Vietnam veteran with 2 tours and a Purple Heart and a Cold War veteran who never deployed. They don't distinguish. They don't see a difference when it comes down to classification of what is a veteran. And I'm the same way. And I want to kind of push that mentality that it doesn't matter what capacity or what job or any of that. What you did in your time of service is still more than what 99.9% of the American population did. Period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You did something that most Americans could not, would not, or were incapable of doing. And it's no fault of their own in some cases. Personal choice. That's what I love about this country is the freedom. You have the freedom to choose. Do you want to serve? Great. If you don't, you don't have to. We don't have compulsory service with the caveat Vietnam, World War II, all that, the draft. I'm not going to get into that. That's a completely different animal, and I still have respect for people who didn't volunteer and who were drafted and who had to. Still a veteran. Doesn't matter. So back to the toxicity I was seeing. Um, to kind of give you a background of mine, I served in the United States Army from 2006 to 2010. During my time, I was an intel and security specialist. I worked basically in S2. For those that are not familiar, that don't have it in your branch, and I'm not familiar with all the branches intel section, but I was a battalion S2 soldier. I was with the 10th Mountain Division, 3rd Brigade. I was in a brigade support battalion. I wore many hats. I deployed once to Afghanistan for a 12-month tour, and basically I did the fore and out route, not by personal choice. I got hurt in Afghanistan, and that precluded me from being able to reenlist. So I was non-deployable status, had a surgery on my neck, and they said that it was too severe that I could not stay in. So upon getting out in 2010, we were still global war on terror. Obama was still in office. We still had a whole bunch of, all the politics doesn't matter, but we were still, we were winding down in Iraq. We were pretty much done there, but there were still operations being conducted in Afghanistan. And upon getting out and getting in touch with fellow veterans and getting kind of plugged into the veteran community, I noticed more and more there was this kind of pervasive mentality where veterans would belittle each other. And I don't. It doesn't matter the reasoning. It doesn't matter um, the inspiration and the methodology of why they did this. I mean, there could be a myriad of reasons why people do this, but for me, just seeing that was kind of disheartening. We were all on one team. When I was deployed, I had the kind of mentality, especially from some of our, I had to give some security briefs, and some other guys kind of gave security briefs. But, when we were deployed, the Taliban and all the other anti coalition forces did not really care. They didn't care if you were an infantryman or if you were a supply person, if you were, a mechanic, a pilot. None of that mattered to them. They just saw the uniform and the flag, and you were the enemy. It did not matter what job you were in. And so that mentality where other veterans were belittling each other, a lot of it, and I'm not laying blame on anybody. I'm not putting my sights on any one particular group or subsect. It's just what I saw, just an observation. But a lot of it came from the infantry guys who, get out and they're like, "Oh, what'd you do in the military?" And if you said anything other than combat arms, they thought less of you. And to me, that was kind of disheartening. That was kind of not a very positive situation for me to kind of be in. Where who cares? Did you serve? Yes, I served. We both served. We both took the same oath. It's not like the oath is different between infantry and support and personnel and all that. None of that changes. Your rank, sure. I got out as an E4. Rank, doesn't matter. After you leave the military, rank is immaterial. Cool. If you were an officer, you were enlisted, whatever, you're still a veteran. And that's kind of the whole uh, reasoning and mentality behind starting this organization is let's drop the the crap. Let's get rid of that whole, you know, I'm better than you because I did something else. You know what? Like, cool. I qualified expert on my M4. Big whoop. I know infantry guys who just barely met the bare minimum. I know, you know, tons of people who were support people that maxed out their PT. And I know infantry guys who didn't max out their PT. So, what does it matter? Who cares? Is your service less honorable? Does your service mean less? And I don't think so. And that's a lot of the reason why I started this organization is that your service to our country is meaningful regardless of what you did. Because, I hate to use that trite and kind of overused phrase, but bullets don't fly without supply. Nothing gets done without all the support people lining up in their respective ways to make a cohesive mission picture, even in peacetime. There are veterans now getting out that've never deployed. Does that mean that their service is worth less? No, not at all, because they still did that one thing. They put the ink to paper and signed that contract. They raised their right hand in front of an officer and in front of the United States flag, and they swore an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's the bare bones. That's it. Nothing else matters. And so that's kind of what I'm kind of trying to accomplish with We Are All Veterans. And uh, where this is going to go, who knows? I'm hopeful that maybe it will facilitate change and we can get some, positive outcomes from this. I would love to see a change in kind of the mentality among veterans that, we're all one team, one fight, regardless of what branch, regardless if you've deployed, regardless of what job you did, and, you know, kind of breaking it down. Branch of service. I know guys who were Air Force that they fired a gun maybe a few times during their military career, but they did some very important things. I know a guy who was a uh, aircraft mechanic. He worked on the engines for F-15s. That's a pretty important job, if you ask me. If those F-15s are not flying, there's no close air support for our infantry guys down on the ground. There's no air dominance and air superiority going on if those guys aren't flying. That's just as worthy. I know a ton of female veterans that have a lot of complaints about how they're treated. The fact that I live in the state of Colorado, it's a very pro-veteran state. We have license plates, and a lot of states have these, but Colorado has a ton of license plates. A bunch of military service ones. You can get every branch of service. You can get special forces, Vietnam veteran. They have a female veteran license plate. The fact that that is something that I feel like that's kind of a little bit saddening to me because women serving in the military are just as key, just as vital, do just as good of a job as the men. Men and women are different. Let's face it. Um, and then down to unit, I was with 10th Mountain, like one of the most frequently deployed units in the United States Army from 2002 to 2014. And I'm proud of that service. I'm proud of that unit, especially coming from Colorado. That's where 10th Mountain was born. I was proud to be in 10th Mountain Division. Were we a special operations unit? Not at all. But that doesn't matter. I have friends. I know guys who are Navy SEALs. I've met people who are Delta Force. I know guys who are Army Special Forces veterans. I know guys who were MARSOC, Marine Corps Raiders, and whatever unit, it doesn't matter. You're a veteran still. Again, job and deployment. Look, there are tons of people out there who never deployed. We were not at war constantly for the whole history after World War II. We had World War II, Korea, then there was a break, then Vietnam. Then after Vietnam, there wasn't a whole lot going on with mass unit deployments. until the first Gulf War. Then, following the first Gulf War, there wasn't much. That yeah, Bosnia and Kosovo, but not all service members during that time period deployed to those areas. I know veterans who are Somalia veterans. I know veterans who never once set foot outside the United States of America during their service. And you know what? It doesn't matter. And one kind of final kind of key point I want to close in on disability. I have a disability rating from the VA because I got beat up pretty bad during my service. Knees, shoulders, being 10th Mountain, we did a lot of ruck marching. That takes a toll on your body. I know guys who are airborne who their knees are shot. I know helicopter pilots who their knees are shot. Um, Not all injuries are sustained in combat operations. Not all injuries are visible. Not all injuries are physical. Um, One of the big things for veterans that's a big issue that is one that I harp on all the time: mental health. There are people out there who are hurting and their scars are not as visible. There are veterans who have attempted suicide, who have suicidal ideations, who suffer from depression, PTSD, and PTSD does not always have to come from combat. I was diagnosed with PTSD. I never actually fired a weapon in anger. I never shot anybody. I never had bullets directly flying right at me. I've had bullets fly overhead, but never actually been what I would consider actively shot at. Um, I've been close to rocket impacts, close enough that it would qualify for a combat action badge. Never got it. And there are people out there who say, "Well, you have a disability rating." There are guys who got blown up or shot or seriously injured during their military service. They deserve it. You were rear echelon. You don't. And no, I don't care. That's you know what? Everybody's service was different. Everybody handles situations different. A big thing, big part of why I started this was that whole stigma, PTSD. People think that, oh, you have PTSD, so you saw combat. Well, no, if you didn't see combat, then that's not really PTSD. I got hit in the head. I suffered TBI. That's a very serious thing that's plaguing a lot of veterans. And you know what? I feel like that's none of my business to judge somebody else's disability, somebody else's experience, somebody else's reaction to experiences, somebody else's perception of a situation. None of that matters when it comes down to it. Every veteran is different. Everybody has a different experience. Everybody perceives things differently. And dispensing with the stigma um, is really kind of vital to making sure that veterans treat each other with respect, other people treat them with respect. And, you know, in closing on this, I feel like from the outside looking in, I can see people seeing veterans disparaging one another or putting down one another. What do they see in that? What is their perception of that? When a civilian who's never served in the military sees a veteran taking down another veteran, belittling or putting down another veteran, that's unconscious. That's unconscionable. That just that that bewilders me. That they what are they thinking? Like, oh my God, this is a person who served honorably, and they're putting down another person who served honorably. That makes my stomach turn. And when people do that, and I will not call anybody out, but there are a few pretty high profile veterans who do that stuff. And that really, really, really gets under my skin. That really makes me lose a lot of respect for that individual. And some of these people are, higher tier operators that have said stuff like that. And it really hurts me to hear a veteran say something negative about a fellow veteran. So that's really kind of the gist. That's kind of why I started this, what I stand for, why I want to grow this, and I will say this from a perspective of I'm always learning. I'm always wanting to be learning. I want input from the veteran community. How can I make this better? Um, I'm always willing and able to adapt and adjust my site picture and adjust to better suit how this can be successful. So I value all input, comment, all that. I don't know what platforms I'm going to put this on. For starters, I think this is going to start out maybe Spotify, YouTube, Rumble. I've already got some of that. I have a Facebook page. Check it out. I have a Twitter or X, whatever. Check that out. And if this when this gets uploaded to YouTube and Rumble, check the description for all those links. I'll have a link to my link tree for We Are All Veterans, and just appreciate you spending 20 or so minutes with me to hear what I'm all about. The future for this, what I would love, I'd love to get interviews. I've got some ideas for some veterans I want to get on the show. I won't say anything name wise, but I might get some fellow veterans that I know, not well known. I may get some famous ones. I may try. Who knows? But I'd love the input. I'd love the feedback, and I thank you for taking your time and spending it with me. Cheers, and have a great day.